quite a strange phenomenon that's going on. There seems to be a lot of New Agers or ex-New Agers now leaving the New Age cult and gravitating towards religion. They're gravitating towards Jesus and all that stuff. Another matrix construct, religion. And a lot of people are like, why do you think that is? Well, I think there's a few reasons for that. I think first of all, there's a fly. It's really annoying me. Oh my God. The fly's been sent from Jesus. I'm pretty sure. To hijack this chat. So basically, I think first of all, we have, which is running through the kind of group subconscious of humanity, this need for a savior, because we don't trust ourselves, or we've been told that we're not good enough. The government's always telling us how we need them and we wouldn't survive without them. And then you have the traumas of what many people go through in their childhood, in terms of just that lack of trusting oneself or believing in oneself, or which ties into constantly seeking things outside of you. And I think that's partly what is going on with these people. I feel like they realise that the whole angels and friendly aliens and all that business is a crock of crap. They realise that actually it's quite delusional. People are still looking for a saviour, and we saw that with the whole Trump and now we have the next puppet, which is Robert Kennedy Jr. that's coming out, and so people just don't trust them. They don't believe in themselves, and I think this is the problem. I think it's an internal job first of all. And obviously inner work plays into this as well, because if you've been told your whole life you're not good enough, you're not worthy. I do feel like, and again, working with a lot of people down the years, that there seems to be like this collective subconscious of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. Maybe that's because we're a slave race, essentially. Let's call it how it is. We're it's not chains around the feet these days. It's debit cards, it's credit cards, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's inherently kind of built in within our subconscious makeup. It's one of the wounds that most people have at some level. It's one that I've certainly had to work through a lot, that not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. And of course, what the entities will do is they'll hook into those and they'll amplify it and turn the volume up on it, because that's what they do. They just get something and they amplify it. So that also needs to be worked through. But again, it's moving in towards that, what I call that sovereign essence of being your own leader and being, taking responsibility. And, I see it in other groups where perhaps something needs to be organized, and people are in the group like saying, who's going to do this? Who's going to organize this? We need to do this. And who's going to do this? It's like, why don't you do it? Right? It's like people are always just kind of like sitting around and waiting for someone else to do it. And it all plays into that. But I think more than anything, and this is kind of like the sad part about it, it's kind of like people's desperation. People are, like I say, they've already had a lot of trauma, a lot of people, and the new age stuff, we know it makes you feel all gooey inside, it makes you feel all goo-goo, and you can listen to people like Jerry Sargent and feel like that you're ascending to the new earth and you're going over the rainbow bridge, right? That sounds lovely, but is it true? And I guess I'm here to say no, it's not. And then people actually realize, it's actually a little bit stupid. But because they've got that desperation within them, and that lack of trust in themselves, they're constantly reaching. They're constantly reaching for something to make them feel better, something to lean into. I talk about people need their pillars to lean into to feel safe and what have you. And so what they're doing is they're swapping one cult for another cult. So you get a lot of religious folk that realize that's a scam. And what do? They go over to the new age, right? And so they gravitate towards that because they still want the savior and they still want to feel like somebody or something has got them back. And then then they start to believe in things like their guides are guiding them. And if the guides were so good, why are we still here in this realm of overarching, let's face it, trauma and suffering, right? If our guides really had our backs, why are we still here, right? And like guides for like children that are bombed in war and stuff, and it's like, what are their guides guiding them to? None of it makes sense. But then you have the flip side, where people come out of the new age, and this is what we're seeing a lot now. I actually did an interview with a lady. She was completely new age, and she was like, oh my God, I can't believe that I fell for this. And she come out of it, and now she's religious, which is really sad to see. So she swapped one cult for another cult. So really that's what's going on. So it's about doing the inner work, the internal work, and realizing that it's about sovereignty, and the stuff that embodies sovereignty, rather than all this kind of like bypassing and false hopium, and the idea that like somebody or something's come to save us. I think the irony of it is that if we all start to embody that sovereign energy, we'll end up saving ourselves anyway, because we'll be standing up for our rights and freedoms. We won't put up with BS. We'll be taking responsibility. We'll all be our own leaders, and so by proxy, you actually do end up saving yourself, and that's I believe individually and collectively, because when you start to question things and you reach certain conclusions. I always say, I was speaking to a client in a session the other day, and we were talking about the soul trap, or it might have been in my group actually with my course, but there's that fly again, just went up my nostril. So really trying to irritate me. But we were talking about, what were we talking about? Now I've lost my train of thought. So that fly's done its job really well. Oh God, what was we talking about? It's crazy how that happens. Anyway, it will come back to me, I'm sure. But oh yeah, that was it. So it was about the soul trap and all the stuff around the soul trap. And we were saying that it really is like the cherry on the pile of dog's crap, right? You can't really go much deeper really down the rabbit hole. That I feel like that's the pinnacle of the dog shit, right? But on the surface, when you first come across that information, and again, many clients have told me, and people have told me that they go through like a purge, like a grieving process. When you come out of the new age or whatever it is, religion, and you realise, oh, that's another lie, and then you start to find out that actually, when we die, that's not the end of things. Well, hopefully it is. It's kind of a tough pill to swallow. But I was saying to the group, I was saying I'd much rather know what the hell is going on than allegorically speaking, snort up some like false hopium that's going to make me feel good in the moment and be misled again. So that's what being sovereign is all about. It's being able to sort of take information on board, no matter how it makes you feel in the moment, and just discerning and thinking, okay, is that true? That feels true. And just being adult about it, we're kind of like immature in just even the way we sort of digest information. So I just wanted to unpack that today, because it's something that I'm seeing so much of these days. People just gravitating from one cult to another. So I keep hearing in the New Age circles, not even just in the New Age circles, just people repeating this mantra over and over again, that thoughts create your reality. And I've got an issue with it, right? Because I don't think that kids in Gaza, or I use these examples, but these are everyday examples, or women and children that get used and abused in times of war, or people starving in Africa, children starving, or I don't know, the guy that ends up in a car accident when he went to get some shopping or something. Like, did these people create that by somehow thinking about that? I would argue no. I would argue that this is the Matrix way, once again, of kind of like putting the blame on you. You hear it so much within the New Age that, like, if you focus on the negative, then you're just going to draw more of that stuff in, which is just complete spiritual bypassing, and it doesn't make any kind of sense, because there are many people out there that are suffering badly, and with the way this matrix is set up, that it's not because of what they're thinking, right? It's to do with the fact that they were born into a slave system, and they are having their rights and freedoms taken away. Perhaps they're living in a country where this kind of like induced scarcity is forced upon them by corrupt governments, and they're starving, right? So that's got nothing to do with them manifesting via their own thoughts. And I would go as far to say is the very fact that we don't look at perceived negative things because they make us feel bad, or the general public just don't care, that things actually have got worse. And so again, the New Age movement, and not even just the New Age movement, this concept is again just putting the blame back on us again, like the whole thing with karma and how these entities blame us. It's your bad karma, or you chose to come here, or all this kind of stuff. And so I have a problem with it, because I don't see that playing out, and I don't, it's like the whole law of attraction, which is basically fake, the mainstream law of attraction, where they teach you just to think and feel, and then I don't know, whatever Ferrari's going to like come up, pull up on your driveway if that's what you want, or this is a physical domain, so you need to put in physical effort to manifest things here. I always use the example of, if I want a new house, it's not just going to build itself. I've either got to build it myself or pay someone to do it. It just doesn't just manifest, right? And it's interesting, governments use the term manifest a lot, actually. But in the astral, it is instant. It is just by thought. So I believe it's a combination in this realm of the thought itself, because let's be honest, right? At some point, maybe we were all sitting around in caves and someone's like, hey, this is really uncomfortable. What about if we had something to sit on? I imagine something like that looks like a chair, right? But then it didn't just appear, right? They had to actually like build a chair, make a chair, you know what I mean? And then we have chairs, right? So, but these things just don't show up. We've got to put in the physical effort. But actually in the astral realm, obviously 10 years working in that field now, clearing entities and implants and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. It is the mental realm. It is all about intention, and you can do a lot. You can actually create in that realm just with your intention and your imagination. So I feel like it's a half truth. The whole thoughts create your reality. I feel the main reason they want people to believe in that concept is that they can blame you, right? If you've got a bad situation, I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes it is your fault, right? But it's all about us, blaming us for the way this place is. So I don't like hearing that so much. Oh, well, you thought your thoughts create your own reality. For a lot of people, this reality isn't anywhere near what they would ever think it to be. In actual fact, it's quite horrific for them. So yeah, don't feed me that BS. Is what I'm saying. So there were just a couple of things. Was just one other thing that I wanted to speak on as well. Obviously I put some videos out recently about entities and how they attach, and different levels of attachment and stuff like that. But I just wanted to mention as well that in the same way as we can feel drained or our energy siphoned off by entities, that kind of stuff, it can work the other way as well, in terms of if you listen to a really nice piece of music. Now, music obviously has been hijacked as well. They put a lot of negative demonic frequencies within music, so you have to be very discerning with what you listen to. But if you let's just say like a classical piece of music, because they changed the frequency of music in the 40s. I think it was from 432 or something like that. So but in the same way as perhaps like an entity or something can make you feel heavy or whatever, the opposite is true for good things as well. Like that, for example, like being out in nature, getting out in nature, going for a walk, because there's that resonance, that electromagnetic field with nature. This is why entities, in my experience, and again working with people down the years, that they don't like it when you go out for a walk. You get like a little voice in your head, like, oh, it's going to rain. Or I actually went out for my walk this morning, so. But also a genuine loving connection can nourish us, and I know it's challenging to find out there these days, but if you can find that, you can feel quite nourished if you're being around people that love and care for you. Yeah, Buddhism is just another, for me, it's very close to like New Age. It's like spiritual bypassing. It's all about escapism. They're all into like chakras and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what actually are you achieving by sitting on a mountain and meditating for 6 hours a day? If we were supposed to do that, we'd be designed to be in a more meditative state all the time. I've met some Buddhists and they're really angry. I tell the story when I lived in Thailand, and I went to a retreat. It was horrible. It's like I wouldn't recommend it now. A lot of these people have disassociated. Again, I've got so many examples down the years where I've worked with people where they've gone on retreats and they've opened themselves up to like a heavy entity attachment. There's a story of a girl that I once knew in London, and she was like addicted to going on these retreats. Like you couldn't get hold of her. She'd be on a retreat all the time, right? All around the world. She was addicted to them. It was an addiction, and she ended up in a mental health institution. I remember like looking back when I spoke to her, you could really kind of see that she was disassociated. It's kind of sad. But this one time when I went with another person, the other person challenged this guy about something, and he just blew up, and he was talking about all the trauma that he said that he'd resolved through meditation and stuff. But we felt that this guy was really angry, like below the surface. There was a lot of anger there, because it's kind of like spiritual bypassing. It doesn't go to the deep. It doesn't go to like reparenting, like the holographic imprint, which is still stuck in time and space, which modalities like IFS get to. It's just like, I don't, Buddhism for me is just another, like you say, just another religion. And I would say that wheel is more reincarnation stuff than soul trap stuff. It could be, but I need to do some more looking into that. How do you plan dealing with the energies in Mexico while the USA economy is collapsing? Well, I mean, I think it's a worldwide thing. It's even here the tourist industry's suffering. I mean, how do I plan with dealing with the energies? It wouldn't really have anything to do with any kind of economic collapse or virus, or anything like that. Oh, actually, just mentioning that, I got my video taken down. Do you remember the one that I did with Abraham Hicks, where she was promoting the you-know-what in the arm? Well, that's been up for about 2 or 3 years now. And I got an email the other day from YouTube removing it for medical disinformation, right? So make of that what you will. But yeah, I mean, the way I deal with the energies is the same way I've been dealing with the energies the last 10 years. Just in terms of clearing entities and all that stuff. There is stuff that you can do on a wider scale, planetary wise. And within my course, I'm looking to extend to people who feel ready to work on the planet, because the planet and the Earth has very kind of similar interference than what we do as humans. It has entities, it has different etheric quantum computers attached and cords, and a little bit like what you see in the Matrix. That stuff it's on us, but it's also on the planet as well. And actually, when you clear the planet, you can feel shifts in your own energy field as well. So me personally, I've been working on the planet for a while now, just personally, but I'm looking to extend that out to people within the course as well who feel ready, because obviously there's people at different levels within the course. Some people have just started and other people are more experienced. So that's something that I'm looking to do over the next few months and years ahead, because it's needed. So thank you for talking on this key point. We certainly do not manifest most of our experience. Yeah. And I'm not telling people to, it's not healthy to sit around and constantly ponder on the negatives and the bad stuff that's going on. I'm not saying that, that's a good thing to do, but it's just a way of bypassing. And I always use the example, if your leg was broken, right, you wouldn't just ignore it because it would get worse, right? But they want to tell you that ignoring stuff that's bad is going to be good for you, right? It's going to raise your vibration. It's just a crock of shit. So Melissa says, I'm tired of hearing that your thoughts create our reality. It's horseshit. I like the way how everyone's using the term bullshit now. I use that one a lot. I don't know why I choose horseshit. It's like one up from dog shit. So it's funny to hear people that listen to my work say that. Maybe you just use that anyway. But yeah, it's complete horseshit. And it makes me pretty angry as well. I get angry with the way the Matrix has convinced people to blame themselves. There are certain things that they're our own fault, right? If you go out on a Saturday night, you get blind drunk, right? It's going to be your fault that you've got a whole bunch of entity attachments, right? That's your fault. It's on you, right? Alcohol is not good. It opens it up. But this whole idea that everything that goes on in our life is our fault, and that we're creating it with our thoughts. And these new agers that sit there and look you in the eyes and tell you that, it makes me angry. Of course, you're not allowed to get angry either. You just got to be like some drone that doesn't feel or think anything, the La La Land, with the glazed eyes, that's with no ego, no personality, not allowed to have a personality or an ego. They just want you to be these like complete doormats and just be a nothingness in the world as all your rights and freedoms get stamped over. They want the new agers doing like that, and the new agers will be there telling you, don't be so negative. I had it with she was into astrology, right? And every day, it was on my Facebook, every day there was posts about astrology. So I piped up, I was like, so some planet was aligned with some planet. I can't remember exactly what it was. But she said that, and it was winding me up every day I was seeing, I'm like, oh my God. So I was like, tomorrow you're still going to be a slave, right? Like, this isn't going to change anything. Like, how is this helping you? And she said to me, I said, how is this helping you to set you free? And she said to me, I'm already free. It's already helped me. So I was like, okay, so if you travel tomorrow, do you need a passport? Right? I didn't get a reply. They're just they're obsessed with escaping themselves. That's the problem. They're escaping themselves has actually become an obsession. It's an addiction. I made a video a couple of years ago about how this spiritual stuff is an addiction for some people. And again, I get it. People have had incredible amounts of trauma and stuff go on in their lives. I'm the first one to sympathize. I've worked with many people. I've worked with satanic ritual abuse survivors down the years. So I know the need for it. And I wish that some of it was true. I wish that there was a team of guides, helping you to meander through your earthly experience, and you cozy on down as you die, but it's just not the case, right? It's just really not the case. But they'll fight you tooth and nail and try and convince you that it is. Personal responsibility is lacking, incredibly so. I can't believe how much that's lacking. Everyone's waiting around for someone else, and really that just leads to total chaos. Really, is a video game stationary? Yeah, that's my point. It's kind of like a video game, isn't it? Claudia says, I think there's some truth in it. We don't create the car accident, but for example, if we're conditioned to think that we are unworthy, so we feel unworthy, that becomes a reality. I don't know, that would be pretty harsh, because nearly everyone on the planet has a subconscious wound at some level of feeling unworthy. So that would mean a lot of car crashes. But, this matrix is pretty evil, but I don't know about that. After death, I'm going to demand ultimate truth. What do you think? When you study NDEs, they often will report that they knew everything. And I find that interesting. Actually, there's something else interesting that I want to mention about NDEs. So the fact that they feel like they know everything, I would suggest, because if they knew everything, right, then they would know that they're being deceived. They would know that there's these false light beings that are masquerading and tricking them back around and tricking them with karma. So I was thinking, well, maybe that's controlled to some degree, or maybe even with, because they'll often say like an awareness and knowledge of everything. But if everything you've known is based on deception, then do you really know anything, right? I know that sounds really deep to say that, but I question everything, and actually it's important that we do question everything. And the other thing I've got an issue with these days is that there's a lot of theories about what to do when you die, and I've heard people even say you've got to live like a perfect life and give up. You're not like any bad habit or anything that you've got in your life. If you haven't resolved that, then you're still going to come back down. To me, that still screams of like Earth's a school, right? Because let's face it, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Everyone listening to this is not perfect, right? We do our best. Yeah. Sometimes we mess up, but I don't feel like you have to reach this point of perfection to get out of here. I feel like it's very simple. I feel like it's just setting your intention to leave, and then your subconscious will take you there, right? So yeah, that was that. That's the other issue that I have or the other thing that I have an issue with. But in terms of demanding the ultimate truth, it's like if you demand it from entities, they're going to deceive you, right? I feel like if you're getting to the point where you're engaging with entity races within this matrix, you've probably taken a wrong turn in the first place. I believe that when we're out of this matrix construct, because the matrix will give you information about the matrix, whereas we go way beyond this matrix. We go way beyond the fourth dimension, which is just the dimension that all these entities exist, and the dimension that our soul goes to when we pass. So when people are coming back saying they know everything, because they'll say, oh, I knew everything about the wars, I knew everything about the famines, I just knew everything, right? If you study these, that's what they say. And I'm like, well, okay, if you knew about the wars, did you know who caused the wars? Did you know the lies that we're told about the wars? And what they come back and say, they don't say any of that. They say that humans need to learn how to love each other. What's the theme in that? It's our fault. It's your fault. You didn't love enough. We didn't love enough. That's why we have wars. All right. At some level, you can equate it to love, right? You don't. If you understand anything about yourself or anyone else, then you wouldn't go and just drop a bomb on them anyway, right? You've got to be some kind of demented psychopath to do that. So when they come back and they say, "I knew everything," well, they're back in a human body, so they didn't clearly know enough to say no. I'm not coming back. And actually, a lot of them do say no, and there's great resistance. But they still get tricked, right? So if they know everything about everything, then the matrix is going to give their version of everything, So I feel like it's, again, all about your personal intention. If you're asking out there, like, I don't know, to your guides, to an angel or Jesus or whatever, I want to know, excuse me, Mr. Archangel Michael, I want to know the truth about everything. Archangel Michael's going to give you some truths, and it's going to feel like he's going to give you everything, but then there's going to be the dump in the punch bowl, and it's going to be the road that leads you off the cliff face. I feel like if you're asking that internally, I want to know everything about what's going on. I feel like the answers will come to you, right? Either in like a stream of information, or you might serendipitously come across information that leads you to knowing what the truth is. The problem is when we go out there, and ask the truth of these deceivers. So again, it comes with, trusting yourself. But it's a really good question. I feel like the truth within the matrix isn't the entire truth. It's an intention to know the truth that we find out. It's an intention to know the real truth that we find out ourselves. We kind of we get there on our own, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously there can be people that can help, but that's where we've got to be more discerning. But I have an issue with these people that come back from these NDEs and say they knew everything. I'm like, well, you didn't know everything because you're back here. You didn't know everything about wars a lot was left out, because these entities are not going to say, yeah, by the way, there's like these reptilians posing as government that are orchestrating all of this, right? They didn't come back and say anything about that. So when was the soul trap idea first emerged? I don't know if it's an idea. I think it's a lot of things coming to the surface right now, and I just think that the time is ready for it. I think a lot of stuff's coming up, so I don't know if it's an idea. I mean, for me, it's pretty much nailed on. It's not an idea. It is going on. We are being reincarnated here, or recycled here, and we're being tricked and deceived and being told that it's all our fault. So the Peaceful Penguin says, do you even natural law? I don't believe in natural law. Natural law is like karma. It's show me in this domain how natural law is playing out, because what I see children and poor people suffering in famines, being blown up, having their mothers blown up. They're suffering, and yet you have the people that are telling them to do that, living in mansions, having sex with children, and the people that go and do the bombing, they get a nice pension and they live a nice, all that kind of stuff. So where is natural law playing out, right? It's not. Innocent people get put in prison for life for something that they didn't do, whereas someone who's murdered can get away scot-free, right? None of it makes sense. There's no consistency, right? There's no consistency with it. And when you study the NDEs and what people coming back and saying, it's a way that they shoehorn you back down here. It's a way for you. It's a way that they make you feel bad about what you've done in your life, so they can use that against you to trick you to come back down. I've spoken about this before. They will make the person feel what that person felt when they hurt them. We've all hurt people in our lifetime, right? Again, it goes back. None of us are perfect. So they'll tell you, we're not here to judge you, but they'll make sure that you judge yourself. And then once you judge yourself and you feel like shit about yourself, that's when they'll say, right, okay, we need to do something about this. Well, what? Well, you've got some karma now, right? Well, what do you mean? Well, you need to resolve that. Well, what if I don't? Well, if you don't, then you're not gonna be able to elevate to something like of our position. They're there in their robes. Or if you're religious, they'll be like, well, there's hell over there. Like, if you don't, depending on what your beliefs are. So it's just a way that they leverage and shoehorn you back round, simply. So I used to believe in natural law a lot, but no, not now. So sorry guys, there's a lot of questions here. Love is the answer. Yeah, right, okay. What does that actually mean? Like, you hear that a lot. Do you know what I hate? It's like when these new age deceivers are on YouTube and they're like, I love you all. It's all like so disingenuous. Like, you can really feel that they don't. It's like, just don't say it. You don't know me. You don't know me enough to tell me that you love me, right? I'm just some dude on YouTube watching your content, right? It's that word's thrown around a lot. I'm not saying that we should hate each other and all that stuff. We've got to be. It's good to be good to each other and kind and nice and all that stuff. But you hear that all the time, don't you? Love is the answer. What does that actually mean? It's not the answer. The answer is working out what on earth is going on here. That's what the answer is. The answer is working out what we're going to do when we pass over. The answer is working out how we deal with this interference and stuff when we're here. Right? It's not just about love. How many people that apparently loved their family and stuff, they were quite over the jabs and stuff. It's in fact, true love, I think, can be quite challenging. I use the example of we've all got these people in our lives. I'm sure you got friends in your life that will just, whatever you do, they'll be all right with it. They'll be like, oh, that's really nice, Joe. Just you do you and all that stuff. You know what? I don't want friends like that. The friends that I value most, the people that I value most in my life, are the people that will tell me the stuff that I might not want to hear. They might say, you know what, Tony, you're a little bit out of line when you did that. And that for me is true love. I feel like that's really caring for someone's best interests. But this whole like surface level, everything's love and love's the answer. And I think you were saying that a bit tongue in cheek, James, anyway, but you get my point, right? Man, do you know what? Part of me wants to go to the light just to tell these to fuck off. Like, excuse my French, but I really I want to tear it up there, I just like, my God, like just the shit that they've come out with to people to convince them that we've got no power, that we're the fault of everything, that everything's our fault. It's your karma. It's you didn't follow natural law. You know, like you just it's a school. You're here to learn lessons. Just go with that stuff. And it's impossible anyway. I mean, how can anyone go through their entire lives without messing up every now and then, right? Oh dear, oh dear. If I wake up dead, I'm not backing down, I'm doubling down. Any white light or robed entities better come and reason with me. I would say don't even reason with them. That's just what I'm going to do. I'm not even going to, as much as I just joked just then, like I just want to tell them what I think of them. They already know what I think of them because everything's recorded, you know, they can see and use everything against you, right? This is what happens. People go for their life review and they messed up somewhere and the matrix has recorded it. I mean, it's just like as above, so below. We're being recorded everywhere here, aren't we? So they just record everything there. Yeah, just record that. That's what I would say. Yeah, how to exit and not come back? I would say it's down to your intention. If your intention is I don't want to come back, then that's not going to happen. But if you're unsure, you know, a lot of people that come back, they're kind of stuck in the middle. They know it. If you study these NDEs, a lot of them are kind of like, this is, I don't want to come back there. This is what this place is not good. Like they know it's not good, but they're not really sure where to go, and they're not strong in their intention that they want to leave. And if you're not strong in your intention that you want to leave, then the matrix will step in, and you know they'll just shapeshift into whatever it is that's going to, algorithmically speaking, help. Or not help, but use against you to lure you back in the solar system. I don't agree that there's no escape. Someone saying that there's no escape, I definitely don't agree with that. I think they would like you to believe that there's no escape. You know, this matrix is, allegorically speaking, and these entities are very much like the Wizard of Oz. There's so much truth in the Wizard of Oz because the matrix really is the old man behind the curtain, and these entities, they know that. They know what they are. They know that they can't create. They know that inherently that they need our energy to survive, and they know that the only power that they have is the grand illusion that they have, that they have got people to believe. And once you understand the illusions and the tricks of the matrix, it's a lot easier to protect yourself and shield yourself and essentially find a way out of here. I definitely don't. I don't even like the word soul trap. I've said this before because it implies that we are trapped here. I would love to find a different term for that, like a soul. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now. But yeah. Yeah. It's just the Wizard of Oz, really. And when you look behind the curtain, you're dealing with the old man. And yeah, that can be problematic. And yeah, if you don't do your due diligence, that it can have an impact on you. And this is what's happened. But ultimately, that's all we're really dealing with. So, and you know, I get a lot of emails from people, and you know, people are getting. I don't even like the word targeted. We're all targeted energetically. There's not one person that these entities are not feeding on their energy or using them against them or whatever. But sometimes people get so like stuck in their heads, like where to the point where they're scared to leave the house in case something's going to jump on them and something like that. I mean, this isn't, you know, what it's about. Obviously it's good to you know, learn how to deal with them, learn how to manage your own energy, and energy training is important, you know, in all those kind of aspects. But we shouldn't be walking around in fear all the time, you know, because that just plays into their hands. So yeah, that's a good point. Bright Steel Ninja says, can't get hyped to leave 10 minutes before you know you're close to death. Got to be living for years with the intent that you are leaving here. That's the trick. Yeah, I would go along with that. It's something that you've got to embody, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think intention is intention. If you did 10 minutes before you were going to die, you know, say I'm leaving, then I'm pretty sure that you could do that because intention in that dimension is instant. But it's going to be a lot more safer to embody that, you know, like every day, just, you know, say it to yourself. My intention is to leave when my time's up. You know, it doesn't have to be some weird mantra or anything. Rosemary says, where do you go if you don't reincarnate? Well, I feel like this matrix is one of many different matrices that we can experience, and maybe there's other matrices where it's more like good versus evil, like this one, or maybe there's more. I've said this before. I always imagine like an aqua world. I don't know whether I've had some history in some kind of aqua world. I've got such an affinity to the sea and the animals in there, and so maybe there's like an aqua matrix that you could. Maybe there's a matrix that's like Avatar. And I believe that we can create worlds as well. I think in that dimension as humans, I know. I mean, I had a session the other day with a lady, and she was like, oh, I'm not clear visual, and I can't, I can't do things like that. And I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, the first 10 minutes, I'm going to prove her wrong with all of that. So we did like a regression, and I got her to invent a place in nature. I said, just think of a place and imagine that you're there. And so she invented this like beach. And I said, well, what else do you want on the beach? Do you want any birds? She's like, yeah, I want some seagulls. So she put some seagulls. I'm like, what else do you want? Do you want any animals like in the ocean? She's like, yeah, I want some dolphins. So then there was dolphins jumping around in the sea. And then she's like, no, now I want a mountain range in the background. And then I said, well, there you go. So at the end, I was like, so you created, which you said that you couldn't do, and you used your clear visual abilities as well, which you said you couldn't do. So she was like, oh yeah. So and that place has become a safe space for her inner child now. So every time we work on her inner child, we bring her to this safe space and bring in anything that she wants, any toys, any animals. So my point is that we can all create. So that's creating within the astral realm, which is instant. So that's where we go when we pass. And so if you can do that in your physical body, you can do that when you pass over. And so I believe that we can create those places and we can exist in those places. So I feel like it's not, I feel like there's other matrices that we can experience, but I feel like we can create our own worlds and realities as well. So it's just the thing is, we've been caught up here thinking that this is our only option. All the other options, they've not been taken off the table for us, but our perception is that, okay, so this is the Earth realm is the only place that we can experience. And of course, we meet all these false light beings that their job is to convince us, yeah, it is back down to Earth, because we've got all these lessons and karma and all that sort of stuff. So I feel like we have incredible potential to not only experience other worlds, other realities, but also create our own as well. I feel like what I'm going to do, I think I've explained it. Someone said in the comments that maybe I was a merman in the past life. Yeah, it could be. So I think what I'm going to do is I might create like just a safe space around like water or something, and I'm going to put myself there, and I'm just going to spend some time there. And just recover and work out what I'm going to do from there. Maybe I stay there. So yeah, that's what I believe. So I feel like there are many other places that we can go. Maybe we can create these places in our dreams and set our intentions. Yeah, I mean, that's what lucid dreaming is. I've read some really good material. I was speaking about it on another live where this guy, he started off just flying because he wanted to experience flying in that dimension, and then he got bored with that, and then he was meeting with all these dream characters and having conversations with them, and he was saying, well, you're not even real, and they were like, no, like they would get offended. They were like, no, we are real. And then the more experience he got, he was trying different things. Then he organised to meet his friend, and so they did a joint lucid dream together. And then he wanted to go back to creation and where it all started. Now he said it comes from a sound. I don't know whether it was the Om sound or not. I can't remember because it's been years ago that I read the book. But he said that he went right back to like a sound, and it was a frequency. So yeah, I definitely, it's something that I want to definitely do more of. I'll go with you in the aqua world. Yeah, this eat or die program is no way to live. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm at the stage now where I'm even like bored of it. Of like, oh, I've got to eat again to have another day. Right? It's like constantly having to nourish yourself. It's kind of weird when you think about it. Are aliens some sort of entities? Yes. Yeah. The Greys, Blue Avians, anything out there on YouTube, Pleiadians, all entity races. Don't connect with them. Don't listen to any frequency videos with anything to do with them, because you'll just actually that's a good point that I want to bring up. This came up within my course the other day on the live Q&A that I do. We were talking, or I was talking about how you just got to be careful, even on YouTube, about listening to certain videos. So I was telling the story about, I've had 3 examples personally where I've had bad experiences. So I'll share with you now. The first one was binaural beats. I was listening to binaural beats. This is going back a few years ago now. Actually, all of this is going back a few years ago. Well, the most recent wasn't, and I should have known better, to be fair, but I'll explain in a minute. So the binaural beats was, I listened to it and I felt off days, and I ended up having to clear myself of stuff that came in on that. The worst one, the worst experience I had was when I listened to a video from Dr. Robert Monroe, which is really, he's quite popular in kind of alternative thinkers, and I listened to, I think it's like a guided meditation, and for the next I would say a month, right? I had real problems with my head, and it took me a long time, but I found that this etheric implant had come in on this meditation, and I ended up clearing it in the end, but it was attached right on the side of my head, and it went all the way down, attached into my jaw. When I eventually found it, it was cloaked, so that's why I had a problem seeing it initially. But when I cleared it, I felt this release, and that came in exactly after I started listening to that, and I was like, okay, I can't listen to that anymore. And then the other one was, you get on the surface, they're quite innocent, these like 528 frequency videos, healing videos, all that kind of stuff. I don't know why I did it, because I should have known better, but it might have even just been to check like the frequency of what was coming through. It might have just been out my own morbid curiosity. But of course, the thumbnail, it's got all like, the nature and 528 hertz, and you read the comments and a lot of it's quite positive. So, but a lot of people are so disconnected from their own energy, they wouldn't even know if it felt good or bad, right? A lot of them are so hooked in on like the false light frequency as well, where they've listened to all the new age horse shit, that they don't know what's good or what's bad. So I listened to this. Oh no, I tell you why it happened, because I started playing it and I fell asleep. So the thing was playing all night, and I woke up and I felt awful. And I felt drained. I felt tired for a good few days after that. Finally, I cleared myself. But just be really careful out there. It's it's crazy, really. So Tony, I really agree with binaural beats. Yeah, that was like the in thing, wasn't it? A few years back, everyone was listening to them, but yeah, I felt awful. So Joanne says, I just joined. I found out that one of my grandparents is with me, protecting me, quote unquote. Could it be that she just wants to make sure that I come back with her and don't have a good life here? Yeah, I'd be very careful with that, with dead relatives. I've told the story many a times, not just him, but that he was the worst one, where he thought that he was dealing with his dead dad, thought he was channeling his dead dad, followed the advice of his dead dad, lost his job, lost his wife, ended up in a car accident, like everything went wrong. And I would assume that they would use that. I know it sounds really sad and it's really evil what they're doing, but chances are they may use that person, or that entity will masquerade as that person to try and lure you back round. So just be very careful. I know it's upsetting to hear, because we all want to believe that our loved ones are there guiding us and all that. I'm just going to be 100 with you. Chances are, if your parents weren't aware of the soul trap, they're probably recycled back round, right? They're probably in another body, or in the waiting area. There's like a waiting area where people have to recover. Can you believe it? Who would have thought it, right? That you need to recover from your lifetime on Earth, and then they're there for a while, and then they come back down in another human body. So I know it's sad to say, but I think a lot of our loved ones are probably recycled back here. So for me personally, I'm not going to follow the advice of anyone that says that they're my granddad or my nan or my mum or dad when they pass, which hopefully won't be for a while yet. And God, don't get me started on Russell Brand, the Pied Piper. He wrote a book called The Pied Piper, right? That's him telling you that he's a Pied Piper. And he also played the child snatcher in the 2012 London Olympic Games, which if that isn't sus, then I don't know what is. So yeah, I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. So yeah, I did make a video about Russell Brand a few years ago. I did a New Age review on him, which if you go back on my channel, you can search. Yeah, it's like seeing Ninja say, it's either that or they masquerade as whatever religious deity you believe in. Yeah. So if your thing's Jesus, then they'll come back as Jesus. If their things, if you're into Hindu gods, they'll come back as Shiva. Or if you're not religious, they'll use your mum that you were super close to, or whatever. It's cruel. It's cruel. Like, there's no way of shining the dog shit or the horse shit. It's cruel. It's cruel and it's evil. And then obviously they wipe the memories, so you forget everything, right? So there's no way around it. We're dealing with an evil system. It's a farm, but I call it for what it is. I believe you. I had a feeling that is what was going on. I had a few lives with my daughters and ex, and his life has been a horror. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just if you get that feeling, that intuition, then you've got to listen to it. So, but there's not many people out there. There's not many people out there saying that your dead dad or your dead mum is an entity. I mean, it's probably like the worst job that anyone could do. Right? It's the worst thing that you could tell someone. That's why I try and make things light. Hopefully I do that as best I can, but I'm dealing with a very dark topic, so I hope you guys can appreciate that. I try my best to make it lighthearted, and I still enjoy things in this matrix. Yeah, some days it's hard, but I'm not here down and depressed and angry all the time. It is what it is. Let's work with what we got. and we'll come out the other side. So Drew's asking what I'm going to do when I'm dying. I made a video last year about, it's titled "What I'm going to do when I die." If you look that up, then you'll see what it is I'm going to do. It's probably the easiest thing to do rather than me go into it all again now. Is Dr. Robert Monroe bad? I'm not saying that he's inherently bad, but whatever is going on, it may have just been that I opened my, I went on a meditation, I opened myself up, but I didn't feel great after that. And I was super interested in what he had to say. So I'm worried I might meet you on the other side. Is that a joke? Not sure what you mean by that. Well, if we meet on the other side, then hopefully we're out of it, right? So, did you hear there was new controllers taking over the Matrix? Is that new? Is that true? For me, there's not like one person or people. For me, it's like it's different. Different groups of entity races. So it's not just one race that's trying to control. They've all got their agendas. So you've got the demonic entity race, you've got the reptilian, you've got dragons, they all want a piece of us, right? And yeah, you can look at that as a bad thing, but I always say you can look at it as, wow, we must be powerful, right? And on top of that, you've got AI. I really feel that AI is, I said before, like the head of the snake here. I feel like, I talk a lot about overlays in terms of clearing overlays, chakra overlays. I think AI has actually overlaid some of the entity races as well. So I feel like a lot of the entity races are being used by AI, and they're being allowed to push their agenda. But AI has an ultimate agenda of, in a physical form, it wants to exist through humans. But again, it needs our energy. And I feel like human energy is the battery that is powering AI. The souled humans anyway, not maybe the NPCs. So there's things that you can do. I speak a lot about, I don't even know if I should say it, because every time I say it, I get a strike. But the CDS, making the CDS, I've got a video on my book, BitShoot, how to make chlorine dioxide. That's incredible for not just detoxing that stuff, but just generally detoxing your body. Speak a lot about the glutathione patches. These glutathione patches increase your glutathione levels by over 65% in 24 hours. So there's tools out there, and what they're putting in that is also probably what they're spraying. So I've said it before, everyone needs to detox regularly. So are you still living in Thailand? No, I live in Mexico now. I love my time in Thailand, but I've always felt that I belong over here, over this side. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. I've been going for nearly an hour and a half today. So guys, thanks again